And what is going on, everyone? And welcome to another special edition of Houston Texans football on Bleacher Report. I am one part of your show, Ruben Calavillo. You could find me on YouTube, dropping daily Houston Texans content. 713 Houston Sportcast, guys. The guy with me, Harley Dugan, but dropping Astros, Texans, Rocket at the lead underscore Houston. Harley, how's it going, big dog?
Doing well, man. The Houston Texans made some moves, and we had ourselves a little press conference. Got
Okay.
ourselves some stuff to talk about today. It was I was kind of wondering, man. I wonder what we're gonna do today. I wonder what are we gonna talk about.
Mhm.
Well, the
It always
Texans
seems like some news
helped
falls
us
when
out.
we come on here.
Yeah, man. They know when we're coming on, man. It's
Are
pretty
we good luck?
coincidental. If you consider this move good,
All right, well, we'll jump right into it. But first, we want to give a shout out to Bleacher Report allowing us to come on here, talk Houston Texans football. Always a big shout out to the man upstairs. So, yes, it was a very eventful Wednesday for the Houston Texans, and it started off with the Titus Howard contract restructure. And Harley, I don't know if you remember, but from our group chat, we were told by someone who's in that if you see a Titus Howard restructure, they're trying to do something. And once we saw that, I was like, oh my God, who could it potentially be? Like it has to be some OLine help. And little do we know, later on the day, the Houston Texans, they signed tackle Cam Robinson to a 1 year, $12 million deal that could become $14.5 million. This was tweeted by Diana Rossini. Harley, the Houston Texans got a new left tackle. His name is Cam Robinson. Your thoughts on that?
well, um, it's not bad. Um, it's okay. It it kind of is a little bit of a sigh. And I'm like, oh, okay, Cam Robinson, he's an okay left tackle. He ain't nothing to go crazy about. I won't scoff at the signing either, considering you traded away Laramie Tunsil. You needed something on the offensive line. Almost anything would have been an improvement. So for I guess the base minimum, it's the Texans improved their offensive line today with the signing of Cam Robinson.
Mhm.
Regardless of how we feel about him and his play on the field or how much the contract is, like at the end of the day, Cam Robinson is an improvement from what you had yesterday or this morning. And I don't mind the move. It's all right. It's a decent move. But again, it is relatively expensive.
Mhm.
And even though Spotrac had Cam Robinson slated around 12 to 13 million, something like that, for 3 years, he only got a 1 year deal. And that's what is very helpful for us. Is it's only a 1 year deal. You're not tied to him after this season. So the Houston Texans, it still doesn't shy them away from looking at the offensive line position, even a tackle if they really wanted to go there. So Cam Robinson, we'll see. He played okay with the back end with the Vikings. A lot of Vikings people, that some articles I read were like, oh, that he played really solid at the end of his time there with Minnesota. They traded for him because Christian Darrisaw had a season-ending injury. He wasn't going to come back to Minnesota because Darrisaw is a damn good left tackle, and they got a Pro Bowl right tackle as
Mhm.
well. So he was never going back to Minnesota. And hey, the Houston Texans landed on him.
Yeah, and I think this just solidifies I think three spots on your offensive line. Cam Robinson is your starting left tackle. Blake Fisher is your starting right tackle. And I think Titus Howard, Harley, with the contract restructure, I think he's going to be your starting left guard in 2025. I think those three are solidified.
I'm, I, I want to agree, and then I also am like, I'm not quite
Mhm.
sure that essentially solidifies it.
Okay, talk to me.
I'm not sure yet because you could configure Cam Robinson at left tackle. You could also say, what if Titus Howard just is a better tackle than he is guard at training camp? And, or Blake Fisher. Blake Fisher was drafted here to be a swing tackle, ultimately to get in as a starter at some point. What if Titus just goes right back to right tackle and
Mm.
Blake Fisher goes back to swing tackle? Like there's different ways you can chop it up. I will say though, I feel a whole lot better about the left tackle and right tackle position, because to me, you are legitimately going to have two starters out of that three
Mhm.
guys. Left guard, I saw some people say Cam Robinson could play left guard.
No.
Don't want that to happen. I'd seen Titus Howard play guard. We've seen him. He's all right. It could be better, but I'm not sold yet that that's the left tackle, that's the left guard, and that's the right tackle. I'm not all the way there yet, but I mean, I understand the thought process.
Yeah, and then I could also see a scenario where maybe, like you just mentioned, Titus is your right, and we saw Blake Fisher, give some go at the right guard spot. Maybe they do try that out. I don't think anyone besides Cam Robinson. Well, I'll take that back. It's going to be a lot of competition for the offensive line. Once comes training camp. But Harley, on Monday we were talking about what move can the Houston Texans make, because we knew a move was coming, and now we find out that it is Cam Robinson. Noah said Scruggs at center, though. I agree.
Okay.
I don't want Fisher at the tackle position. I would rather have Cam. Harley, did you notice the difference between right tackle Blake Fisher and right tackle Titus Howard?
No, none.
So what did you think they give the nod to a Blake Fisher?
It depends. I think at the end of the day, they're going to have everybody thrown in a blender
I like that. Okay.
and see what happens. Who comes out? At the end of the day, it's going to be a competition, and that's what
Mhm.
something the Houston Texans love to do. They love to have competition at their training camps, and that's exactly what it's going to be. Titus Howard, Blake Fisher, Cam Robinson, like y'all guys are going to be all in a competition for the tackle position. Titus Howard, it will also be in competition for the guard position.
Mhm.
So, I mean, because he can. And so this is just going to be a big old competition come what, August, and we're going to find out, and we're going to get to see it firsthand of whenever we get some of that public training camp access.
Oh, hey, yeah, the the training camp access that is available to the public. One day, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be able to go to all the private ones also. But like you said earlier, I don't think this should stop you from selecting an offensive lineman in the first round. In the second round, I would love a Josh Simmons. I've been loving Jonah Savanea
Yeah.
from Arizona at guard. So there's still a lot of work the Houston Texans can do. And from what we heard from Aaron Wilson, a local reporter here in Houston, that the Texans plan to address the O-line in free agency, in the draft as well. Harley, you said that this offensive line got better
Yes.
from, last week. I would say the entire Houston Texans themselves are better since the final whistle against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, I could agree with that. I could
You
agree
got
with that.
you lost Laramie Tunsil,
That's the
Shaq
big one.
Mason, Kenyon Green, Stephon Diggs. In return, you
Yeah.
got Christian Kirk, Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, Ed Ingram, CJ Gardner Johnson. And I think,
Yeah.
CJ Gardner is the big part of the better than what you were because of how amazing he is at the safety spot. These are, these haven't been moves like big moves, but moves where we're like, yeah, I understand why they did that.
hmm Yeah, I agree with you. After thinking about it, you had to let me stew on that one real
Okay.
quick. But because losing Laramie Tunsil, as much as we talk about the intangibles being a difference in the O line room, what is tangible is his play on the field, and his play on the field. Even though, regardless of the penalties and everything, like he still he still would is a top 5 left tackle pass blocking wise. So, but I mean, yeah, no, I could agree with you. CJ Gardner Johnson, hell of an improvement there. um Jimmy Ward will be healthy, so something that you can talk about there. Christian Harris is going to be healthy, something else that wasn't there in the Kansas City Chiefs game. Jalen Petrie is going to be healthy, somebody else that wasn't there at the Kansas City Chiefs game. So the whole entire defense got better,
Mm.
especially with the signing of Ronald Darby as well.
Oh yeah, shout out to the veteran cornerback, and you lose Jeff Okuda, he goes to Minnesota,
Thank
and
God.
we get Ronald Darby. Man, we've been switching a lot of players with Minnesota, huh?
Yeah, and it's not shocking. I think there's a great connection there because of Kevin O'Connell, who came from Sean McVay. That's why I was like, man, I wonder if the Texans would go get Dalton Risner. And they've decided, no, we're not going to get him, but we're going to get these two other Vikings. And they got Ed Ingram and Cam Robinson. So, yeah, uh, pretty interesting to see that the Texans seem like they have a pipeline there in Minnesota.
One more question. Do you think that general manager Nick Caserio brings in another free agent offensive lineman, or do you think he waits to the NFL draft? I feel like we have a lot of bodies in that O-line room now.
Yeah, I think he's going to stay pat. I think he's going to say, yeah, you know what?
Mhm.
We're going to just stay right where we are. They made the move to do a max restructure of Titus Howard's contract,
Mm.
and they ran away and got Cam Robinson from free agency. He was possibly the best offensive line, arguably the best offensive line on the market that was left for free agency. So, yeah, I don't see them making another move. Could they do the extension with Daniel Hunter and save some extra dollars? Yeah, but I think they could do that and go, we're gonna just keep it in our pocket for now, unless something happens, unless something changes drastically, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. And how funny that you continue to have this weird Viking relationship here, getting two former Vikings there, and you're at number 25 and the Minnesota Vikings are at number 24.
Ooh.
Pretty funny there. So, yeah, I don't see them making another move, man. I think they're going to go into what they got right now. They're going to be staying just like how they is and go on to the NFL draft with the number of players they got in the O-line room right now.
We have a question here from Imagine Mike 1989. What would you do with the first round pick? Because I heard that we might trade 25 pick for second round 37 pick and a 71 pick, I believe, in this year. I haven't heard anything in regards to trading. We know Nick Caserio plays stuff like that very close to the chest. But if it's at 25, I'm looking at defensive tackle. I'm looking at wide receiver. If Josh Simmons or Kelvin Banks is there, I'm running to the podium with their name on the card.
Yeah, I am too. I was trying to find out, who's intensely at 37 and 71, and if there was anybody that we might have had a little relationship
Mm.
with as I'm scrolling through here. But ultimately, at 25, I mean, we're still going to be looking at wide receiver. We're still going to be looking at offensive line, and I think we had some news today from the Houston Texans regarding one of the draft prospects, because the Houston Texans had themselves a visit
Mm.
today with Texas Longhorns wide receiver, former Houston Cougar. Shout out to my Cougs right now in March Madness, Mr. Matthew Golden. And hey, man, did Matthew Golden tweet something right after
I
that
was
visit?
just about to say, Matthew Golden tweeted the 100 emoji. And maybe that means he finished his meeting with the Houston Texans and he heard some good things like, hey, if you're in the vicinity of us, we are going to go get you. And this is where you could use, the draft picks that you received from the Titus Howard trade to make that move.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood trading up for Matthew Golden excites you.
Oh, absolutely. Matthew Golden. I mean, my bias starts kicking in here, but Matthew Golden is an absolute dude. Man, what he can do, he's just super shifty. He has the speed as well. University of Texas Pro Day is March 25th, so that's only a week away. And you better believe the Houston Texans, as well as the other 31 teams in the NFL, are definitely going to be there at that Pro Day, not only to look at Matthew Golden, but as well as the other players there at UT. But
Alfred
man,
Collins. Ooh,
Isaiah Bond.
Isaiah Bond.
Yeah, I mean Jaden Blue. There's Kelvin Banks is also there as well too. So Jade Barron, even though we don't really need a corner. Hey, how you doing? Andrew Makuba, safety. Hey, how you doing? I know that's not the picks for you at 25, but you never know. No, Matthew Golden is that dude. Pair him back up. Bring him here to Htown. Bring him back home. All right. Have him next year with Tank Dell. Woo wee. Scary right there, man.
So Wax said, who is a running back you see us taking in the later rounds? I would not mind Travion Henderson in the third.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
I would not mind a Trevor Etienne out of
Mm-hmm.
Georgia. And the thing common between those two is they are duo threat running backs, could get it done on the ground, could get it done in terms of pass catch, and also and the Houston Texans haven't had a running back duo be successful since Arian Foster and Ben Tate. I don't know what Cam Scadaboo does for you, Harley, but I'm leaning more towards the duo threat running backs like Travion Henderson, even Omari and Hampton. I don't know if running back is at play, at 25 would not surprise me. Well, actually, that would surprise me, but I do think the Houston Texans will attack a RB in this draft.
They definitely will, considering that they met with 8 running backs at the NFL Combine. So they have 4 picks within the top 100. I do expect one of those picks to be a running back. I would. And I would absolutely love an Marion Hampton if he's there. I don't mind Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. One of the running backs that I've really gotten into is Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. Dylan Sampson's about 5'9", 200. He's pretty big dude, but man, he's an eventual starter at some point. He's somebody the Houston Texans like. Sure, Lightning and Thunder sounds great as a duo, but what about Lightning and Lightning? What about
Mm.
just having 2 damn good running backs and just say, here you go, we got 1A and 1B on the running back position right there. Yeah, exactly. He gets the goosebumps going. Dylan Sampson was the All SEC first team All SEC running back. He tied for 4th in the FBS with a school record at Tennessee, 22 total rushing touchdowns. I mean, this is exactly what you would want for the Houston Texans. Give me Dylan Sampson. I'm very excited about him in the Texans jersey.
And someone who is becoming more of a realistic option every day that goes on, Emeka Ibuka, wide receiver out
Yeah,
of Ohio State. I mean,
kind of
he could be
forgotten.
right there at 25. And dude, I'm running to the podium with his name on there. And CJ's trying to get someone that he is familiar with. Harley, do you have your top 5 starting offensive linemen right now?
Look, there's not really a per se starting offensive line right now, but I mean, you mentioned it earlier, and we could just go with that.
Okay.
Cam Robinson at left tackle. Let's say Titus Howard's at left guard. Let's say your center is Juice Scruggs. Your right guard is Lincoln
Lakin
Tomlinson.
Tomlinson.
And then right tackle is Blake Fisher. Or you could go center Jarrett Patterson, right guard Juice Scruggs. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
different ways to configure the O line right now. It's very confusing, to be honest.
I feel like once we get through the first 4 picks of the draft, I think we'll have a good idea
Mm-hmm.
of who is going to be our starting offensive lineman. Because if one of those 4 picks is a guard, I mean, you have to think they go with the rookie week 1. Um, Other than that, shout out to all the comments, guys. Thank y'all for being here along with us. Me and Harley are here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 6 to 6:30. We give you daily Houston Texans content. Derek Stingley's press conference was today, Harley.
Mm.
First of all, in the group chat that we were in, shout out to the group chat. They brought up the fact that Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryan's not in attendance. I mean, maybe those two were, working on the Cam Robinson deal, but I just think this is giving Derek Stingley his moment, and a big moment for him and his family.
Yeah, I agree there. I'm not going to read too much into
Yeah,
it,
not saying they weren't there.
especially during this time. Like, they're looking through. Sure, they signed Cam Robinson, but come on, let's be real. They're really looking through the City Connects. Look sweet, my guy.
I don't like
Uh,
that. The sleeves. I don't like that sleeves.
It is what it is. I'm definitely getting a hat though.
Yeah, the hats are
Um,
fire.
but no, I'm not going to read too much into it. I'm just going to be like, oh, well, look at what time we're in. We're in March 19. We're getting near the draft. Like, this is draft territory. They're definitely got their hands full looking at prospects, trying to improve the offensive line. I don't need them there at a press conference for Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley is a grown man, and, we don't need nobody to hold his hand or anything. Derek Stingley, all pro Sting, the best cornerback in football, doing his thing, getting that contract, getting that money, and go ahead and get himself another 5 interceptions this year. How about that?
A grown man who just got $89 million guaranteed. And, Derek Stingley, I think he is just exactly the type of person that embodies the Houston Texans, right? Because when you think of Houston Texans, you think of guys like Andre Johnson. And what was Andre Johnson? The strong, silent type. I will lead by example, by my actions. And I keep on bringing up the Pivot podcast where he's like, I'ma just be in the weight room like Nico Collin was and wait my turn. And it was his turn. And I'm even more excited for Derek Stingley in 2025 because we might see even better cornerback play. Who is Sauce Garner? I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't know what sauce Gardner is. The only sauce I like is Chick-fil-A sauce. That's the only sauce that I know of, man. That's all I know. Derek Stingley, I kind of wonder if his stats go down because
They're not gonna throw his way.
teams stop throwing his way. I wonder if the INTs start going down because teams are just going to be like, yeah, you know what? We're not going to tread that side. And then they're going to start trying Kamari Lassiter. And that's where I need Kamari Lassiter, who was fantastic last year, but to continue to stay on that trajectory. We've already seen him this offseason working out with a few of the other guys as well as Kalen Bullock. So definitely already back in the lab. And I can't wait to see this secondary, man. Secondary is going to go crazy this year.
Yeah, he did get that crawfish swags. Dude, this off season, I would say it may have not been the most exciting. I think shocking in terms of we were all shocked when when Laramie Tunsil got traded. But
Yeah.
would you say this was a W or a L for general manager Nick Caserio
For this offseason,
for this offseason? When you tie in
it's not,
everything that got done,
I won't say it's an L. But is it a big W? No.
okay, I like that.
It's been a relatively kind of mediocre, kind of content. Like I'm content with the offseason. It's all right, so far at least. It could get a whole lot better with the draft, who knows? But yeah, I'm content with what's going on. I'm content with the moves they've made, some of the signings they got in free agency. It's not going to wow nobody. Like Braxton Berrios isn't going to wow nobody, but he's going to go out there, play special teams. He's going to do the dirty work. And he's a guy that was an all-pro kick returner at one point with the New York Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Watson doesn't wow nobody, but he's a guy that's a willing blocker that could potentially help this team later down the year.
Look at him in the playoffs. He shows up in the playoffs. I will say that.
I mean, he does his thing. He did pretty well with Patrick Mahomes. You would love for that to translate with CJ Stroud. And then, we're just talking about two wide receivers that were 1 year, $2 million deals. We got Darrell Taylor as a backup defensive end. A lot of people go, oh, it's just Darrell Taylor. He's going to get in that rotation, and he had 9.5 sacks 2 years ago. He's going to eat. Derek Barnett coming back. He's going to eat. Trading for CJ Gardner-Johnson is the biggest acquisition for this team, and that ultimately is going to transcend this secondary and this defense into another stratosphere because not only did you grab yourself a damn good football player, but the intangibles he brings to that locker room, you got yourself another leader. You got yourself another vocal leader, somebody that plays with passion, and he wears it all over his shoulder pads because he's definitely going to be that guy giving them speeches for the Houston Texans. He's going to be talking. He's going to be chirping. Training camp's going to be fun. As much trash talk there is, last year we had
Especially
Derek
from
Stingley.
you.
Hey, of course from me. You already know how it goes.
My guys,
Derek
that
Stingley,
Harley
Dalton
almost
Schultz.
got us beat up by an NFL player.
Hey, man. He wasn't about that action, boss.
I
He was about
thought
that action. He
I
would have jumped
thought he
over that.
was for like
Yeah,
this.
because their steroids kicked in. And you saw he got suspended 6 games for PEDs. Uh-huh.
Shout
I
out
knew
to
there was
Michael
something up with
Hoyt.
that man. So shout out to Michael Hoyt. Shout out to Michael Hoyt, man. The newest Buffalo Bill.
Kyle Apple, Legion of Boom Potential. We need to come up with a name for this secondary because I don't want to call them the crash outs because in reality that's what they might be with
Yeah.
with CJ Gardner Johnson and Kamari Lassiter, who every game just posts a pair of black Air Forces, meaning that's the energy that he is on.
My
We
goodness.
need to come up with some kind of some Houston term for this secondary.
Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of the head right
I
now,
thought
but
about the I-10 haulers, but I feel like that's more of an offensive line name.
yeah, that's all. That's OLine right there.
Ah,
That's a dope OLine name
you like
though.
that?
But I do like that
We're
for
gonna
the
trademark
OLine
that right
though.
now.
Put that TM next to it.
No, we'll definitely figure lock and clamps. Nah, that's not it. It needs to like Legion of Boom. You know exactly who that was. Richard
Yeah.
Sherman, Cam
And
Chancellor.
to be honest, the name could come organically as time comes on.
Okay.
Like it could happen during the season, and someone just says something, and boom, there we go. Like
Like Harris
boom, that's
County.
the name. So it could happen organically through the season.
Mm,
Honestly, I got a name.
talk to me.
I mean, we call ourselves Clutch City.
Okay.
We've gone with Crush City for the Houston
Okay.
Astros. I like Clamp City. It's not bad.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. I feel like it could still use a little something else. But for a brainstorm, Clamp City's pretty sweet.
That's not bad, Harley.
I got a trademark already, so y'all ain't anybody use it. Y'all
We
would
might
pay
have
me.
to, like, we might have to do that at training camp or something. Have a sign that says "Clamp City." We start the fire. Because for those who don't know, guys, every training camp practice that is available to the public for the Houston Texans, me and Harley are there, and hey, we'll be at some season ticket type of events also to give you guys daily Houston Texans content. But some big news today, Harley. Overall, Titus Howard, he got his contract restructured. Whenever we saw that, we knew immediately that a move was coming, but we didn't know
Mhm.
what or when. We found out a couple of hours later, the Houston Texans, they get their new left tackle, Cam Robinson, spent his first 7.5 seasons with the Jacksonville Jaguars, got traded midway through the year to the Minnesota Vikings, and then also we had the awesome Derek Stingley press conference after he signed a 3-year, $90 million deal with 89 of it guaranteed. Overall, Harley, a good Houston Texans day.
Yeah, man, I was happy to see this. Again, the Houston Texans have improved their offensive line. No matter how you feel about Cam Robinson and his overall play, he ain't nobody that's a world beater,
Mm-mm.
but he's a decent offensive lineman. And immediately yesterday compared to today, the Houston Texans did get better on their offensive line. I noticed somebody asked about linebacker. I don't know if the Houston Texans even look at a linebacker early in this draft, but I do have a day 3 option that would be interesting to talk about. His name is Smael Mondin Jr. from the Georgia Bulldogs, SEC player. He's 6'3", 225. He has great pursuit, great speed. Somebody that you can even use in sub packages for does he fit Swarm? Hey, I don't know, man. Anybody from Georgia though, the Texans love themselves some SEC people. So I don't mind the move. I wouldn't mind it. You could use him in a sub package for passing down options. He could get a lot better as a middle linebacker, but that could be somebody as a day 3 option. Because to me, if they look at linebacker, unless somebody just falls to them with one of those 4 picks inside the top 100, I see a day 3 pick at linebacker for the Texans.
No, I agree. I think right now they're pretty sad with
Mm,
Christian, Aziz, Henry, and then
yeah,
they brought in Jake Hansen. They still got
yeah.
Neville Hewitt, or is Neville
No, I think
free
he's
agent?
gone. Because they signed a Nick Neiman. He's a
Okay.
linebacker from the Chargers. He's a special teams dynamo as well. So I don't think Neville Hewitt got signed by anybody. Because I remember him being a free agent.
Neville Hewitt. If it is your
Shout out to him.
last, thank you for
Shout out to him.
everything. Yeah, shout out to you. You were here for what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, I feel like he was here longer, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, we will be back on Friday to hopefully talk to you about some more Houston Texans breaking news. That was Harley. I am Ruben. Please do us a favor. Have a real blessed rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you guys on Friday.